Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Mike Lawson here with CU Broadcast. Welcome back to our show. And look who we have in our virtual studios today. A couple of credit union rock stars, if you will. Right next to me is Denise Wymore from Zest AI. Denise, how are you today? Good to see you again.
I'm doing well, Mike. I know. I was saying I love being on your show.
Well, thank you.
Frequent flyer on your show. So thank you for
love
having me back.
having you on the show and reporting live from New Mexico, the beautiful state of New Mexico. So glad to have you here. And also right below us, oh my gosh, Mr. Tom Sakash. I always say, is it Sakash? Because I just love the name. Or is it? What's the proper pronunciation of your last name, Tom?
Yeah, it is Sakash. It's a very credit union friendly name, especially if you're in a liquidity crunch. You just got to say cash, right? Yeah.
I've been saying it wrong. Now I need to say it right. I've been saying Sakash. Say cash. Okay,
we got
it.
Cash.
I mean, it's once you hear it, you got it. Yeah.
One of the best names in the industry by far. So, and you're with Scott Butterfield and the Your Credit Union Partner crew now. So, welcome to that. How are things going there?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's a really nice fit. Still get to serve small credit unions just like I used to with America's Credit Unions. Doing it in a little bit different capacity, but it's still a wonderful, wonderful experience. So loving life.
Well, you crush it in that area for sure, sir. So, and speaking of which, today's topic is CU De Novo Collective update. More credit unions being merged, but no new ones are being formed. And so this is kind of a thorn in the side of our industry right now. And obviously Denise and Tom are here to talk about it. So I want to get but before we dive into that type of stuff, what's the latest on CU De Novo Collective, Denise Wymore? Any updates to share?
Yeah. So just as a reminder, for those that don't know, the CU De Novo Collective actually came out of an underground several years ago. Yeah, at Sue Mitchell. And I found out that we weren't starting new credit unions, but I also found out that there was a group of people meeting regularly that were going through the process. And as I began meeting with them and learning about their struggles, one day we said, okay, well, rather than it was like a support group, right? And I said, okay, rather than just getting together and saying, wow, this is hard, let's do something about it. And we formally created the CU De Novo Collective as a volunteer grassroots effort to raise awareness in the movement about how difficult it was to start a new credit union, but more importantly, how we identified that we can help make it a lot less difficult. We identified 3 hurdles. Hurdle number 1 is the actual application process. We've been working very closely with the NCUA to streamline that process, and we have partners that are helping. Hurdle number 2 was raising the capital necessary. And we've done it. We have a foundation. That's the big news with CU De Novo Collective. We have a 501c3 and we actually have a foundation and launched our first fundraise campaign. Tom named it the Louise Herring Fund. Love her. She's my spirit animal. And then hurdle 3 is you got your charter application, your money. Now you have to open your doors. Sue Mitchell and the Credit Union Shared Services platform that you're going to hear about at the next Underground Money 2020 helps to really solve that problem.
Okay.
So is it hard? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that's been our goal. Why is it hard, and how can we make it easier?
And I want to go back to the finance part of it, because I've heard stories of what's the minimum amount of cash you have? Cash, money you need to have to start up a credit union. I heard it's like $3 million or something like that, or maybe I'm not sure. I mean, I could be just pulling numbers out of the air, but that was what I heard one time. That's quite a
yeah. I'm not surprised you heard that number, because yes, that probably would have been a valid number for some of the folks that couldn't get through. They couldn't raise the funds, and so what we identified is, looking at the last 8 credit unions that got a charter, 100% of them were minority led. 7 of them were Black led, 1 was Native American. They were all looking to solve the problem that existed in the beginning of the credit union history, was they have underserved folks that are using payday lending that want to pool their resources to get out of that cycle. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty basic business plan. So the real answer is, there is no dollar amount that we can say this is the minimum.
Okay.
It depends on the business plan and the need of your group. That is a really we call the cigar box credit union, right? That is a really basic, small credit union with basic products and services to serve that group. And we're working with one charter that got in-kind donations from folks, which I'll talk about later with the foundation, but they can get a charter for $100,000 and be successful.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yes, $100,000. We could start with, if we could raise $1 million with the Louise P. Herring Fund, we could potentially start 10 new credit unions.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you say to that?
I think that there's a lot of potential, and I don't know if Denise mentioned, but there are currently a little more than 60 groups that have applications within the NCUA to get started.
That's encouraging.
And so there is a demand there. And as Denise said, one of the biggest obstacles is the capital. So if we can make that connection, and if we can help those credit unions with probably the biggest obstacle to forming a credit union, which is the capital. Not that there aren't other obstacles which we can talk about. We can solve, one of their biggest issues and actually start getting more credit unions established at a much higher rate than we've seen over the past few years. And I think, you've seen the numbers. We start 2-3 credit unions a year over the past 5 years. That's not a sustainable number.
And then how many are merged out, or how many do we, let's say, how many do we lose? The ratios are not in favor of of the numbers maintaining. So and any ideas on how to mitigate some of these hurdles? Tom, I'll start with you on these. I mean, obviously the finance one we talked about already sounds like, from what Denise said, $100,000. Okay, that sounds doable. So what other ways can we mitigate the process going through the NCUA? The application process, I heard, is no easy task as either. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things that I can share on my part, and then Denise has done so much work on this that she should absolutely share. Okay. But one thing that I think could be helped is around the regulatory environment. So once a credit union is started, they have to face the same regulatory scrutiny, the same standards that every other credit union, small, large, has to deal with. And a number of years ago, the Small Credit Union Committee from CUNA, they encouraged the NCUA to change the way that it examines and supervises really small credit unions, to the point where the NCUA came out with the Small Credit Union Examinations Procedure. And that limited and narrowed the scope of regulations that they looked at, because those credit unions were much less complex than a larger institution. Could there be an examination for brand new credit unions that the NCUA could come out with that really takes into account the reality that this is a brand new credit union that's very uncomplicated, and that just has some boxes to check in order to prove safety and soundness? I think that could be a huge deal, especially considering that regulations and compliance costs are pretty much the biggest challenge that smaller credit unions face today. The other thing is the resources and the education for groups that are looking to form credit unions. When I was working for CUNA, America's Credit Unions, I used to get the requests all the time from groups and from leagues looking to help credit unions form for information on how to do so. And the best thing that we could do was give them, sort of the landing page on the NCUA's website for, information on how to start a credit union. But, there isn't a ton there. And so, huge kudos to Denise and the foundation up until the point that I joined just a couple months ago for creating sort of this great, list of things that credit unions can now look to when they're trying to understand the process for starting a credit union. So it's building. It takes a village, as Denise will say. We need partners across the industry to help sort of put the things in place that credit unions and forming groups need to start these credit unions. But it's coming. It's definitely coming.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna turn the tables to you, Denise, because it sounds like you've done a ton of research in this area as well.
Yeah. So currently the process, Tom kind of pointed out, if a group will go, if you Google how to start a new credit union, you're not going to get a lot, which is one of the problems. Right. But these groups do it, right? They discover what a credit union is. They Google it. They go to the NCUA's page. To be clear, the NCUA's job is not to charter new credit unions. The NCUA's job is to protect the insurance fund and to grant a charter. Yeah. And so, and they've been great to work with. They really, really have. But what we found was there's no help. Okay, so if you go to the NCUA's website and you click on their resource page, if you go to the merger page, it's 100% fillable PDFs.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's ridiculously easy, sadly, to merge a credit union on their resource page. You go to start a new credit union, which is where we're driving people. And there are 17 steps. It's 3 milestones. And there is little to no templates. But every credit union, every group that goes through that charter process, think about like the business plan, the pro forma, they need a marketing plan, they need policies and procedures, they need all these things. They're very, very, very similar. So we're looking at that like, why can't we create a template? Well, first of all, kudos to League Info site and Glory Ledoux and the CU Policy Pro that all the leagues have.
Oh yeah.
I had one call with her and she said, we will give free access to any de novo. So when it comes to up-to-date legal policies and procedures, they have provided that. The link is on our CU De Novo Collective website. AUX, they've been around forever. They've got the coolest logo ever.
Here it is right here. So
yeah, there's our website. If you go to Start One and Resources, look at that. Oh.
There we go.
Boom.
Oh,
yeah. There's
Okay.
Ox at the top. So these are all the folks. Ox has been a silent hero in providing in-kind donation services to newly chartered credit unions to basically mentor them from, there are a bunch of CFOs there, right?
Yeah.
And they will help them with their first call report. They're helping them with their, budgeting to make sure that they're successful. But Policy Pro should be down a little bit further. I think we met one up.
Oh, there.
See Policy Pro. There it is. You can go in there and anyone can log in and get free policies and procedures that are, ready to go. So we're looking for more and more donations. CU Answers, I got to give a huge shout out to CU Answers. They also have budget for what they call a scholarship program where they're giving free technology services, you name it. I mean, the website, home banking, core processing, and they will give a scholarship to a de novo. And these in-kind donations go a long way to driving down that initial capital requirement.
Yeah.
So he said it, Tom said it, it takes a village. And my contact at the NCUA that has been involved in most of the approved charters said, anyone that is successful, it takes a village. And I thought, well, I wonder where we can find a village.
Well, there you had it right there.
Yeah.
That last page, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so if
here's
you
your
want
village.
to get here's our village. And, our site has, start one, save one, get involved. And then we've got the foundation. We were originally focused on really, starting new credit unions. And then John Hernandez joined our group and said, with the caveat, we got to save small credit unions too.
Yeah.
Because we lost 144. I think I'm looking at the page and not reading.
Oh, wait, here, I'll go back to
145. There, it's right there. We lost 145 last year, and we started one. So the math is not great.
Yes.
Now I know some people will say, "Well, Denise, if we start 10, which I think is very easy to do, I'd like to start 100 a year. I think in about 5 years we could probably do that. The demand is growing. Last year there were 51 applications. This year there are 63, and so the demand is definitely growing for new charters, with us doing very little.
Share with me the foundation, because you were talking about this earlier, Tom. The foundation.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about
Tom's
this?
On the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundation is the sort of the vessel through which we can raise funds to,
gotcha.
Filter these dollars to the credit unions who receive charters. So this is, entirely built on the work that Denise has done, to establish the fund, to create this webpage, to create this capacity for us to be able to funnel dollars to forming credit union groups. So it's a really exciting opportunity. And, the one thing, talking about sort of forming credit unions, I think that what we've seen for those credit unions that have established, once they do establish, I feel like the credit union community does rally to their cause.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for anyone who has concerns about the sort of the viability of these credit unions once they're established, every new credit union we reach out to or used to reach out to at the National Association to check in on them. And oftentimes they would be so inundated with requests and, shows of support from leagues and from CUNA and from other credit unions in particular, especially larger credit unions, who have the access capacity and resources to help these credit unions, sort of start and go on their journey to becoming sort of a fully fledged financial institution. It's really amazing. And that's the best thing about this industry is that there are so many people who are willing to help you. And, so that's why it's so paramount that we get these credit unions started, because once they get started, the community will be there. And I think that, and I think Denise and I and the rest of the board of the foundation, we hope that large credit unions will sort of meet that call too, not just from the support standpoint once the credit unions are established, but from this financial standpoint. Denise talked about, that $100,000 can start a new credit union. If we can start getting, small donations, small financial contributions from credit unions of all asset sizes, it will make a huge difference in starting these credit unions that are working to provide access to traditional financial services to communities that really need them. So we think that just makes the industry. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I was just going to close by saying we think that the interest is there and the enthusiasm is there. We're just trying to provide sort of the space to make those connections and help these credit unions get started.
No doubt. Yeah, and again, I think the big, the big statement here just makes the industry that much stronger, right? So, I mean, that's basically what it's all about, because we all know, and we were talking before the recording, Denise, that and we all know that the smaller credit unions are the backbone of this industry, and if you lose that backbone, oh goodness, who knows what's going to happen after that. So, and that's a whole nother show where we could talk about that kind of stuff. So goodness me, oh my. So you guys mentioned the Louise Herring Fund to support new credit union charters. Can you guys share a little bit more about that? Who wants to? Denise, you want to start with that, or Tom, whomever?
Well, Tom we were having a board meeting and we're saying, we've got to launch, we want to formally launch the foundation, and we kind of want to, what do we do? And Tom said, we need to name it Louise Herring. And I knew about, Louise Herring, just kind of in passing, but then I started really reading her history, and again, she's become my spirit animal. I mean, here's what she did. Straight out of college in Ohio, she's on a train on the way to Estes Park, Colorado, right, for the big meeting. She paid her own way to go. She was representing the state of Ohio. They're doing a roll call on the train, and they can't find this woman named Louise Herring. And they never thought that this, what was she, 24, Tom, I think, 24-year-old kid would be part of this group. And Roy Bergengren actually was like kind of angry that this kid was sent to this meeting. Well, she ends up being the secretary of the event. And then, as you know, 1934, the Estes Park is beginning of CUNA, and also the year that the Federal Credit Union Act was signed into law. And so on the 90th anniversary of Estes Park, in her honor, we launched the Louise Herring Fund. She went on to form the Ohio Credit Union League. She single-handedly formed over 500 credit unions. She helped to start the Michigan and I believe it was Kentucky League, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. And then just for fun, in the 1970s, she created the private insurance fund today, which is now ASI, and raised 5 children.
Oh, wow. And by the way, 5, goodness gracious.
So
she sleep?
Do that. Yeah, I know. And she was a devout Catholic and raised these 5 children. And so the more I read about her and her struggles, and I got a lot of stuff from the America's Credit Union Museum to learn more about how it all began. Yeah. It was hard. That was the other thing. People said, well, starting a new credit union is hard. I said, it's always been hard.
Yeah.
Anything worthwhile is, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Oh my gosh. I say that all the time, Denise. Wow, you're in my head. Oh my God. I said, anything worthwhile is not easy to do. So so it takes really quite the journey to get there. So, oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And Tom, you want to add anything to the Louise Herring Fund to support these new credit union charters?
No, other than the fact that it's open for business, right? We are in this fundraising phase of this organization, and we're dialing for dollars. We're reaching out to credit unions and leagues and business partners throughout the industry to help us with this cause. And so, if you hear from me or Denise anytime soon, please pick up the phone first of all.
And say cash. Say cash.
That's right. And say cash. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So, all right, I got a couple minutes here to wrap up here, but I want to ask kind of a big question here for the two of you. What will the industry look like if all our smaller credit unions are gone? And then the second part of that, what's the It's a big question, but I think you can handle it.
All right, Tom, I'm going to let you hit it off because we got a thunderstorm and it froze.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm surprised you can't hear it.
It might have been me. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, this crazy San Diego weather we have.
Yes.
Today. So yeah, what would it look like if smaller credit unions disappeared, unfortunately?
Well, I could talk about the industry for sure. I mean, you could talk about the advocacy, but for me, I always think, because I got this question all the time when I worked for the National Association. For me, it's the communities and the people that rely on these small credit unions that I really worry about, and that I really think about. There are still tens of millions of consumers, of people across the United States who are served by credit unions under 100 million in assets, that are considered really small credit unions. And so if we were to lose those credit unions, what would happen to those individuals and those families who might not have access to traditional financial services without the existence of those credit unions? Mm-hmm. So I think that there are certainly major impacts to the credit union industry. When it comes to advocacy, when you're talking about sort of the backbone and the heart of the credit union movement, reminding every credit union, why we were founded and why this movement exists. But in true credit union fashion, I keep the member in the heart of this mission. That's our focus at the foundation. That's my focus in the work that I do. It's helping people. And if we lose these credit unions, we're going to lose thousands of institutions that work every day to really help people in meaningful ways. Mm-hmm. That's what I think about. So, gotcha. Denise, I'll let you answer.
Well, it leads me to my favorite quote by Edward Filene, and that's what you do, Tom, is you keep purpose constant. Right? Keep purpose constant. It's our why. Why are we here? And talking about the credit union difference, that's something we talk about a lot. And right now, we're always in the fight for our life against taxation. And we talk about the credit union difference. And many times it's the stories of those small credit unions that, that Tom's talking about. And the way I look at it is by starting new credit unions. Imagine telling that story in Washington. Imagine going up to Washington and saying, we just started 50 new credit unions. And they're small, but they're mighty, and they're serving, these communities, these underserved communities now have been able to form their own financial cooperative that should not pay taxes, right? Because it is truly the people helping people model. And I'll kind of close with this thing I've been saying lately is I feel like we're saving the movement by starting a new one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Trademark that, Denise. I like that.
That's a mic drop moment right there.
There it is, right there.
And Sakash.
Need we say more? So, oh my gosh, you guys, this is a conversation that needs to continue. So I want to have you guys back on because there's a lot more to talk about here, obviously. But unfortunately, we're out of time. Arg. So,
Arg.
But yeah, I know that's the ARG.
Thanks,
time. So,
appreciate your time.
But yeah, so I want to keep people aware of this. And the other thing here, before I let you guys go, I want to bring the website back up because there's a place where you can get involved right here. So
yes, get involved, please.
So yeah, so this is a pretty cool, very cool resource that you guys have put out there for credit unions or folks who want to start credit unions, as well as credit unions who want to get involved in helping create more credit unions. That's another big message that we want to get out there too. So it's just not individuals, it's organizations that can do this type of stuff. So yeah, so it's all right there in front of you guys. So, but oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time today and your efforts and your passion behind this. It's second to none, as we all know, Denise Wymore. So, but where would we be without you? And especially you and you too, Tom. So it's just great to have you guys here. It's an honor to talk to you guys. And again, the work you guys are doing is second to none in keeping this industry moving forward, especially bringing in new credit unions or helping bring in new credit unions. So yeah, good stuff, guys. Anything else to add
Mike.
For you?
No, just appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Truly appreciate it.
Likewise, guys. Likewise. Keep up the good work, and let's get you back on. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds great.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
You are
Adios.
welcome.